Welcome back to this stream. We appreciate you streaming with us. I'm Brad Edwards. We are 3 weeks away from the beginning of the Brandon Johnson era in Chicago, and he's starting to assemble his team. Here to talk about his selections, Dr. Nick Kachiroubas, teaching professor in the School of Public Service and chair of DePaul's Master of Public Administration degree. Dr. Kachiroubas, thank you for joining us.
Good to be here, Brad. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. First of all, Mayor-elect Johnson selected OEMC Director Rich Gaitis as Chief of Staff. What do you make of that?
I think it was a good pick. It shows Brandon Johnson's openness, I think, in putting together his administration. Rich has unbelievable experience working through 4 mayoral administrations, which I think will really help Brandon Johnson in getting things done in the city in terms of the administration. And Mr. Gaitis has really good relationships with first responders and people in the law enforcement community, which, of course, as we know, safety is at the forefront of most people's minds.
Yeah, and safety was not necessarily a platform. I mean, he was dogged by many, including Paul Vallis, as Brandon Johnson being a defund the police candidate. So let's kind of double down on this Rich Gaitis choice, because I find it so fascinating. Johnson's pretty left. Gaitis was not what insiders expected. Insiders expected kind of another outsider, a la Johnson. So does this also show a willingness to learn the City Hall game, picking an insider? Do you see Johnson, Gaitis is a guy who they say in City Hall knows where the bodies are buried, right? Yeah. So do you see this becoming a trend, or we'll see how it pans out? Interesting first pick.
So I think it was a good first pick. It really shows, again, as I say, his openness in looking at the issues. Certainly, Paul Vallis made a big issue of crime and safety. I think this is one of those choices that I think Brandon Johnson is hoping to, settle people's minds on his ability to not defund the police and provide those critical safety initiatives. As we look to other choices, as we know, also last week he hired Christina Pacione-Zayas, which is a state senator who's a PhD, who has got a background in education, a Latina. Again, these first couple choices, I think, are important because they really show his willingness to sort of think outside of his typical box and bring in some different minds as he looks forward to his administration.
Yeah, really interesting choices, going way outside what some would say would be his comfort zone. So Johnson beat out a lot of big names and experience when it came to City Hall, when he won the mayoralship. He defeated Paul Vallis, as we said, unexpectedly, but both then olive branched each other soon after. Could you see a place for Vallis on the team temporarily? Do you see any other names, defeated names, that might at least send a message of this administration that it's different? This juxtaposed, of course, with Mayor Lightfoot, who tended to choose a close cadre of acolytes.
So I think that it definitely shows some openness to some different picks. I think not necessarily a Paul Vallis per se. I think they had a heated campaign, and I'm not sure if Brandon Johnson wouldn't invite Paul Vallis to have some role. I'm not sure if Paul Vallis would take that. Mm-hmm. Where I think we might see some people, though, is if you remember, we had 15 city council retirements. Right. What if I think we might see a couple of these retired aldermen come back in his administration, which again would show good inroads into getting things done in the city council, as those people would have a mindset for that.
Yeah, and of course, one of the things Mayor Lightfoot was dogged with was her inability to keep good relations with city council. So we'll definitely keep an eye out on that. We will have you back soon. We should get some type of scorecard together, Doc, to see how things are panning out. But good call on both. Not only a choice on the education front, but on the chief of staff front. So we'll see where it goes. Kind of two surprises. or at least outside of the box, not to be cliche, choices. Dr. Kachiroubas, teaching professor in the School of Public Service and chair of DePaul's Master of Public Administration degree. We appreciate you, Doc, this morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good to see you, and have a great morning.